We are asked to solve for this problem here. To integrate the function g over the interval, open bracket, -1 to 1, close it, g r to r, so that's the real numbers, r to r, defined on r to r, x, towards the function what? Absolute value of x. So we're dealing with the absolute value of x up here, right? So now how can we write this problem as an integral function problem? So first thing we got to do is this one here. So we have an interval -1 to 1 to determine here. So we have -1 to +1 of absolute value of x dx. This is how we define our integral function here. So that's the number one thing to do. So number two now is we are dealing with an absolute value function. So absolute value function, remember, when it comes to an absolute function, and then the variable, we have the negative side of it and the positive side of it, all right? So as we graph it, for example, we see that it's going to be split to the left side of the vertical line and then the right side of the vertical line, right? So now let's go for it. So for this one, what's going to happen? The first thing we got to do is to take the function and then set it up equals to 0. And that's how we're going to see when the function is going to be split. All right? So when we say x equals to 0, in this case, there's not much work to do. So that means our function is going to be split at point 0. What does that mean? So that means what? So this one is equal to then, ladies and gentlemen, your attention, -1 to 0, okay, of x dx, then plus from 0 to +1 x dx, okay? However, there is something that we need to pay attention to. The function x, is that a positive x or a negative x? Because remember, like we said, this absolute value of x has two values to it, the negative side and then the positive side. So that's what we're going to do here. And how do we do that? Very simply. You look between -1 and 0, you choose a value that you substitute in x. And whatever the answer is, that will determine the sign of your function here. All right? Simple as that. So between -1 to 0, what can we choose? We can choose -half, right? So if you choose -half, then you plug in x, it's going to give you -half. So what I'm talking about is if you have x and then you choose -half, into it, it just gives you -half. So that means it's a negative function, okay? So this one here is going to be a negative x. So instead of positive x, this one is going to be negative x. All right? Now, when it comes to the second one, again, you go from 0 to 1, and then you choose one value between 0 to 1. And what value can we choose? +half, okay? And then we substitute it into x and see what will be the sign of that value. So if you choose half, then you substitute you substitute in x, that will give you +half. So +half, this function also is going to be positive. You don't need to put it, but I'm just going to put it here so that you can see what's really happening, okay? So then from here, you can now get going. And how do we get going? This one is equal to what? So now we already know how to, find the integral of such function x, right? So now you have negative here. We keep the negative sign, okay? Then this one, what's going to happen to it? It's going to become x, the exponent, which is 1. So it's going to be 1 plus 1. You guys remember that? Over 2. And then what's going to happen? -1 to 0. Are we good? Okay, plus what's going to happen here? So here also we have x over 2 over 2, 0 to 1. All right? So we good? So far, so good? Now we can just do the calculations here, right? So we know how to do this. We keep the negative sign outside. We usually do that so that we don't get confused as we keep going, okay? So at this point, we're just taking our time slowly to understand what's happening here. So for the 0, that'd be 0 to the second power, right? 0 to the second power over 0 minus, then this one here, that'd be -1 to the second power over 2. Okay, so that's for the first one. Plus, then we come here, then this one is going to be 1 to the second power over 2, then minus 0 to the second power over 2. All right? And then this one will be equal to what? So remember, the negative sign is for this one here, so we keep it that way. You can still put bracket here also to split things over here to make it a lot easier to see. So then this one is negative. 0 squared divided by 2, we know is 0. So this one is 0, of course. So we keep this one here. So negative 1 to the second power is what's positive 1. Okay? So, but you keep this negative sign. So it's positive 1 over 2. See what's happening? Then plus, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. 1 to the second power is 1, so this one is 1 over 2. And then negative 0 to the second power is 0. Okay, so it's minus 0, or plus 0 is just a 0. So let's just say minus 0, okay? So we keep it this way as well for now. Okay? And then keep going. Now, 0, negative 1 over 2, of course, is negative 1 over 2. And then you apply the negative sign to it. So that will become what? Positive 1 over 2. Okay? And then here, plus what's happening here, 1 over 2 minus 0 is what? 1 over 2. And then it stays 1 over 2. Now, half plus half is what? Is 1. Ladies and gentlemen, you have finished. Integral of negative 1 to 1 absolute value of x dx equals to 1. And you're done. Thank you.